Hello, and welcome to this webinar by the Global Farmer Network. Today's session is focused on regenerative agriculture and why it's important. I'm Ellie Sukup, and I'm a Global Farmer Network staff member based in Washington, D.C., U.S. Before we start, let me tell you a little bit about the Global Farmer Network. Established in 2000 by farmers, our focus is to connect, empower, and mobilize farmers worldwide. Our mission is to amplify the farmer's voice in promoting trade, technology, sustainable farming, economic growth, and food security. We believe in the power of knowledge transfer, which is why we created this webinar series and offer multiple approaches that focus on action, collaboration, and results that showcase agriculture as part of the solution to the main challenges facing humanity. This year, we are celebrating our 25th anniversary, but we are looking forward to the future too, which is why today's topic is so relevant. So thank you for joining us. I want to introduce today's speakers, who are Sarah Singla. She is a regenerative farmer from southern France, and Antonio Cambrera, a regenerative farmer and policymaker from Brazil. To kick us off today, we're first going to hear from Sarah. She speaks about regenerative agriculture, why it's important, and what it looks like on her farm. So Sarah, over to you.
Thank you, Ellie. So hello to everybody. I will share. Okay, thank you. So the question is, don't look backward, asking why, and look forward, saying why not. It means that in the future we have many possibilities to do a good work. And what I want to share is also that farming and agriculture is a tool and a key if we want to have a better future. So this is my farm. I live in the south of France. I have 250 acres and I grow triticale, alfalfa, vetch, rape, buckwheat, meadows, cocksfoot, and cover crops. And on my farm, we are doing conservation agriculture and regenerative agriculture since 1980. So it means that it works even in the long term. It's not like an utopia, which will be just for 1 or 2 years. It's been 45 years that we are doing that on my farm. So on the left, you have my grandfather. He was looking backward when he was plowing. And today, when I am seeding in the cover crop, I am looking forward. So looking at the future. So why do we have to change? Actually, what you see in this picture is not dirt, it's soil. And soil is the main tool of production of every farmer all around the world. We can have orchards, vineyards, we can be arable farmers, we can have animals. If we lose the soil, then we will have desert, and if we have desert, there won't be any agriculture, there won't be any food. And the main threat we have today, it's erosion. So this is a picture of erosion due to the rainfall. This picture was taken near my farm just after 10 millimeters of rainfall. And as you can see, all the soil has gone due to the raindrops. This is another picture of erosion. For you, it's just 1 millimeter of dirt. But what you can see here, it's not dirt. It's a lot of soil that is going away just because of erosion. And 1 millimeter of dirt on 1 hectare, it's 10 cubic meter of soil that goes away. This picture comes from Switzerland between 1938 and 1980. It's just they have lost a lot of topsoil on the ground, and you can see the picture, the difference between the two. And as we are farmers, we must produce food, but we also take care about the environment. So why on the left side we have soil particles in the water, whereas on the right side we have clean water? If we have clean water on the right side, it's because we have living plants. On the left side, we have soil particles in the water because there was a soil disturbance made by mechanic tools. And because of this disturbance, all the soil particles couldn't stay in the field and went into the water. It's because the mechanical disturbance kills what we call the glomalin, which is a biological glue made by microorganisms. So each time we touch the soil, we destroy that. That's why our goal is not to destroy the soil, but to keep it for us, but also for the next generations. And if we don't do anything, as you can see on this picture, the soil goes in the sea or in the ocean. And although you can see in the sea or in the ocean, it's our main tool of production. So we must regenerate this tool of production and keep it in the field. In the 30s, there was the famous Dust Bowl in the USA, and Roosevelt said that a nation that destroys its soil destroys itself. So we must take care about the soil. And this is the organic matter content throughout the years. So you have here 200 years of cultivation. Each time we lose the organic matter content, we are losing the soil fertility. And if we lose the soil fertility, 200 years later, we have to quit agriculture. So it means we are not able to produce anything. And if we do regenerative agriculture, it's because we want peace on earth. If we keep the soil fertility, if we increase the soil fertility, then it means that we will be able to have a good agriculture, good food, and people will stay in their country instead of to have to leave and to go abroad just because they have nothing to produce. Here you have the same soil texture. The only difference between the two is the organic matter content. If you were a farmer, where would you grow the crop? I guess you would say on the right side, but in reality, we are growing crops on the left, and on the right side is the natural hedges. So it means, as you can see, that nature put a lot of organic matter in the soil. This is on my farm. My farm is near a lake, and they have destroyed half of the farm when they did the lake. So when they destroyed the farm, the lake with the waves took over all the organic matter content, and the fields you can see on the right side were cultivated by my great-grandfathers. And today I couldn't grow anything on the right side, whereas on the left, it's the field where I grow my cereals and my crops. And you can see the difference between the two. It's only the organic matter content. And we often say that a soil without life, it's not a soil, it's only geology, because we have rock, sand, and nothing else. So this is to explain what I do on the farm today. So this is the day of the harvest. I was seeding a cover crop. So as you can see, there is no mechanical disturbance. This is the cover crop, which is many crops that will be grown between the harvest of the previous crop and the seeding of the next crop. So here I was seeding triticale, which is a cereal directly into the cover crop. So the cover crop here was let on the soil, but I could have used them to be grazed by animals or to harvest it if I wanted. Here I just did the choice to let it in the ground. So here I was seeding. Here you can see the triticale growing and the cover crop is dying. The cover crop dies, and at the end we harvest. Our goal is to produce more with less, and our goal is to produce and to protect the environment. This is another picture of a cover crop I have seeded after a spring pea. So you can see all the species that were in this cover crop. And this cover crop was grazed by animals. So it means we can produce 2 crops in 1 year, which is very important, because it means that if we are able to produce 2 crops in 1 year, we won't have to oppose the fact that we have to produce 1 crop to be fed, like corn or wheat, and the other crop will be used to produce, for example, biofuel or biogas. So we can do 2 things in the same time, in the same place. And this is what we do also, is to keep living plants in the cereal. So this is the day of the harvest. I kept the alfalfa alive in the cereal. So you can see the alfalfa, which is already there. Then I have seeded a cover crop in this alfalfa. And here you can see also alfalfa in the cereal. And thanks to that, we have something which is already there when we harvest. And here I was seeding a meadow directly into this alfalfa. So it means we can also associate perennial plants with annual plants in the fields. And what we need is animals. As you can see on this picture, we often talk about regenerative agriculture, but to do regenerative agriculture, we need animals, because animals will bring a lot of microorganisms which are in the poo, and it will help to enhance the soil microbiology, because we need the biology in order to have a good health, a good soil health. And to go further, we need to bring back animals on the farm. And to bring animals on the farm means also to enjoy animal grazing. And what we'll be doing will be mob grazing. So instead of having all the cows that graze anywhere when they want, we're going to cut and to split the field in small plots, as you can see on the left. Here on my farm, I put the animals on the part number 1, then they went on the 2, then on the 3, on the 4, on the 5. So by doing that, we are going to increase the soil quality, the forage productivity. We are also going to increase the meat quality and the milk quality. So once again, we are going to produce more with less, while we are respecting and protecting the environment. We also do what we call agroforestry, which means that we need trees in the field. And with agroforestry, what we do is that we cut some branches of the trees, but these trees will grow again and again and again. So it's like if it was an eternal tree, because we are going to produce fiber and fuel even with this tree on the field, in the farm. So what I want to tell you is that wherever we are, we can be in South America, in the West Indies, in North America, in Europe, whatever we do, we can be, we can have animals, we can be arable farmer, vineyard, sorry, or orchard. We are just protecting the environment while we're producing food. Sorry. And there is a sentence coming from a Tuareg quote saying that the difference between a desert and a fertile valley, it's not the water, it's the people. Here on the left, you have Egypt. Here on the right, you have Israel. And this is the boundary between the two. And why do we have crops on the right side? It's because the people from Israel ask the Bedouin not to come and to overgraze this part. So it means that if we want to make a difference, we can do it. I bring you now to South Africa. Why do we have grass on the left and no grass on the right? It's not because of the climate, it's because of people. This is in China, the Lost Plateau. On the left, it was a desert. The Chinese people choose to plant a lot of trees, and today it's a fertile valley. So it means that farming and agriculture is a real key if we want to change the future, and if we want to mitigate the climate change, and if we want to be a part of the solution. And what we see in the ground is that each time we switch from plowing system to regenerative agriculture, we have also happy farmers and happy communities and people who are happy to stay in their countryside. And by doing that, we will have peace in the world and not war. And this is an example we had from an Indian farmer who said that they have done an index called the Happiness Index. So just to measure, like a KPI, how can we say that regenerative agriculture works? So he said each time the people change and switch from plowing to regenerative agriculture, today they are really happy farmers. And to me, this is the best proof to say that that it works. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I am honored to say that I have heard this presentation a number of times, and I am always so impressed because I learn something new every single time. And I really appreciate Sarah's presentation because she can articulate it so well with photos, in that kind of the difference, the before and after of regenerative agriculture. And someone else who does that extremely well is our next speaker, Antonio Cabrera from Brazil. So Antonio, thank you so much for being here. I know you have a presentation prepared as well. And so I'm going to hand it over to you, and then we will open it up for a discussion and questions from our audience members. So Antonio, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, it's a great pleasure to be here. I think my presentation is okay on the screen, no? Yes? Okay. Thank you very much. I'm Antonio Cabreira. I am from Brazil. Here in Brazil is 11:15 a.m. Then good morning. Maybe to someone it's good afternoon or good night. It doesn't matter where you are. I am a great pleasure to be a member of the Global Farmers Network and talking about these very important matters. Our farmers are located in the central part of Brazil, in the states of São Paulo, Minas Gerais, and Mato Grosso is in the central part of Brazil. I grow sugarcane, and right now we just finished the harvest corn. In the same area, we are preparing for soybean planting next September. And then we also raise cattle. Just to give one idea about just a moment, how can I? Yes, okay. Just to give a little idea about my my history, my just a brief introduction. My four grandparents, they came from Europe, from different countries, from Spain, Portugal, France, like Sarah, and Italy. They come here to work with the land, and they came alone from their countries and met each other here in Brazil, where they married and they start their family. But they all shared a common passion, a love for the lands, and they pass this on the future generation like me today, because I'm so proud to be here to talk about something about regenerative agriculture. For me, it's most important. The big question today is, what are a country's main resorts? It doesn't matter if I'm here in Brazil or you are in Africa or in Asia. I understand that the soil, the water, the air, and the biodiversity, they are our most precious resorts. So the big question, and when I see this image, is how me or you, how we as a farmers, we can utilize all these important assets in the best possible way. This means we will have to produce more food in the future, or for now per hectare, instead of using more hectares to produce food. It's really important, as I'm talking about sustainability. This is the great, in my opinion, the great task for of all farmers around the world. And for the population living in the cities, we have to show that everything can seem essential until food's running out. Then you see what really matters. Then what I'm trying to say is the food is pacifying elements, and to fulfill this mission, we must not only be producers of food, but also we as a farmer, we should be producers of sustainability. It's a big question for me. This is a big challenge to have something like this. And the another challenge, in my opinion, is to show to the people living in the city, because like in my country, the most part of the population, they are not living in the rural areas. They are living in the city. We are maybe just maybe around 10% living on the fields. Then perhaps I think it's almost in the most part of the countries around the world. We perhaps our greatest challenge today is telling that regen agriculture story to the society. Then there are people outside the field who are telling our history, and they are telling it most part of the time incorrectly. Then I think it is we farmers who have to tell this history, the history about regenerative agriculture. And the first point in this matter, in my opinion, is that it makes economic sense for me as a farmer to engage in regenerative agriculture. Why? I believe that the world, the humanity, like my country, Brazil, has already we had already experienced several economic cycles in terms of products. In Brazil, for example, we have already the timber cycle, the gold, the rubber cycles, But now I'm sure that we are experiencing the bioeconomic cycle. At this point, I believe that the environment economy will be the most important in our entire history, greater than any other economic cycle we have experienced in the past. But to achieve this, we must understand that the land requires not only the transmission of knowledge from my grandparents, from our ancestor, but also a new knowledge. This implies seeking for this new technology, such as regenerative agriculture. The next slide, I'm trying to show that this is my what I'm trying to tell you. This regenerative rural activities, this practice that I'm having in my farm and you have in our farm, all these activities in which I will strive to be as efficient as possible with the lowest possible environment impact. Some of these activities here, for example, in my farm in Brazil, we are including low-till farming, second and the third harvest, cover crops, the use of bioinputs. For example, here in Brazil, we use a lot of nitrogen fixation in the soil with bacteria, controlled release and stabilized fertilizers, variable rate of fertilizations, and wherever possible, pest control with biological agents, among others, aimed at economic and environment sustainability. I don't think regen agriculture is one size fits all recipe. It's not a red cake for everybody. I believe that each country, me in Brazil, Sarah in France, you in Africa or in Asia, or each farmer will discover the best way to be efficient with the lowest possible environment impact. And in this race, the farmer, we are the central piece of these equations. This is really important to make clear this. And in my opinion, to make clear, sustainability is not a simple single target or a goal that you are just we achieve, but it's really a journey, a constant path of improvement in our production system. Then every day, every month, I learn something new. Then it's a journey that we are learning new technology. I see many people, for example, today defending an extremely limiting concept of sustainability. For example, I wrote a lot of articles, or I see in some kind of TV programs, they call regen agriculture is the zero carbon. I don't agree this. Carbon is essential in the life cycle, and therefore I think it's more correct to advocate for a low carbon agriculture, not zero carbon. In my opinion, the regenerative agriculture is the better response to this social environment crisis that we are living around the world. And the second point is, in my opinion, is not only the organic farming. I'm not against the organic farming, but maybe the better is to say, as I told you, a low carbon agriculture. And it's for farmers in different crops. It doesn't matter what you raise in your farm, in different regions and with different sizes. It doesn't matter what is the size of your farm, bigger, small, medium. It doesn't matter. You can have this regen agriculture in each part of the world. There are something, it's my personal opinion. Sometimes the people don't understand, but I want to conclude this my presentation saying that I believe the regenerative agriculture cannot be heavily subsidized activity. I know many people here in this live here, this podcast, can won't understand this point. But in my opinion, if regenerative agriculture have heavily subsidized, which means it's not efficient. It's important to say that if it requires a lot of subsidies to produce, it also shows that we are not using our natural resources, as I told you, the air, the soil, the wild, the water, or the biodiversity in the way efficiently. This is my opinion. Of course, we need some kind of help from the government, but not a heavy subsidies. It's important to say this. And if the government has to put a lot of money, subsidies to produce, as I told you, you are not efficient in this thing. And finally, I think we have to tell this history well, so that the consumers, the final consumers in the supermarket, they should understand this process, as I'm telling here, with a necessary way, and they should pay a fair price for it. If the government, again, to have subsidized the product in the supermarket shelf, it also means that the end consumer, the final consumer, doesn't understand the value of the regenerative agriculture, because this, as I told you, we should tell this history to the final consumer, the end consumer. Regenerative agriculture, in the other hand, is the process that involve farmers in all over the world, in all over the country. Like here in Brazil, we are constant driving by the pursuing of new ideas, the development of the new knowledge, and the pursuit of the producing food with the lowest possible environment impact. If I can finalize my presentation here with one expression, I use this one. We should produce more food with the lowest possible environment impact. This is my presentation, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Antonio. And thank you to both you and Sarah for sharing your stories. And I think that this is what is really important, because regenerative agriculture is a term that we hear a lot these days. We'll maybe see it in a marketing campaign. The other day, I saw it on the back of a beer bottle, actually. It said, grown regeneratively. You know, our barley, we use regenerative practices to grow our barley for our beer, for example. And so I think that by listening to both of you and having you both share your stories about what regenerative agriculture looks like to you, what it means to you, and why it's important, is extremely impactful. So thank you. I'm going to kick us off with our first question. I know I've seen a few questions come in from the audience as well. But to kick us off, I'm wondering, and Sarah, I'd like to start with you. Was there a moment or kind of a pivotal experience or season in which you felt and realized that you needed to change your practices? Or maybe it was something where, oh, I'm doing this and now I know about regenerative agriculture. What would that look like for me? Can you talk us through that experience of that awareness, and then what you did, that pivotal moment in which you maybe changed your practices?
So I was born in this system, in fact, and actually, so when I took over the farm, to me it was an evidence to keep on doing what was done on my farm, because I can't afford to plow, I can't afford to destroy the soil, I can't afford to destroy the biodiversity. So I wanted to keep on doing that, just because I consider that I don't inherit the land from my parents and my grandparents. I just borrow it from the next generation. So I really want to improve the soil, and I want to improve my yields, and to have less impact on the environment, as Antonio said.
I love it. So I think, and I love how you articulate that it's about what was in the you saw yourself as a steward and that you had or now a caretaker of this land that has come before you, and that you're also worried about what comes after you. Antonio, you bring a slightly different perspective given your role in politics and in leadership policy. You spoke a bit about this during your presentation about we've seen everything from kind of the rubber movement, and now we have technology. From your perspective, kind of that bird's eye view, can you talk about, again, kind of a moment that aha, or oh, this makes sense to me, in which we really need to focus on regenerative agriculture? This is why regenerative agriculture is so important. Was there a specific moment for you or instance?
Yes, first, as I told you during my presentation, I like very much the economic history about the country and the economic history about our agriculture or our production system. Then in Brazil, we live this kind of cycles: the gold cycle, the rubber cycle, the wood cycle, and something like this. In my opinion, what I'm learning from this time, from the future, from my sons, my grandsons, will be the bioeconomic history. This will be really important. But it's interesting. This is a personal opinion. Okay, it's a personal testament, something like this. Maybe 8 or 9 years ago, I was watching a program on TV, a very famous program here in Brazil, and a very famous artist of the soap opera here in Brazil. It's a very, very popular guy here. It was a program around 1 hour, and he was explaining how is the sustainability on the farmer. It was so funny for me because that guy, when I know the history of that guy because he's so famous here. He doesn't have the connection with the land. He is not a farmer. He not live from the lands. He's just a famous actor giving his opinion, and many of the opinions they are no sense for me. It's interesting that I turned off the TV and I was walking on my farm. My farm comes from my grandparents. Then it means I was born in that farm. I live that farm. It was in our family more than 100 years. Then I was walking on my fields. At that time, it was a corn plantation, and I was watching, and I said, "But I know every curse of the waters here in my farm. I know every tree. I know every piece of the lands here. How can I? I think I, as a farmer, in my farmer, and all the farmers around the world in their farms, they should tell this history." They should give the opinion about the sustainability or the regenerative agriculture. Of course, all the opinions outside, they are welcome in our sector, but the real opinion, the real, how can I say, which really matters is the opinion that the people, they are how can I say, they have an expression in English, maybe skin on the game. I have my skin on the game. That because the land my land, my farm, pay my bills, pay my children's school. Then of course I want to preserve that one in the best way for me, for my son, or for my grandson. Then this is the idea that I should tell this history. I should working more in this matter.
Wonderful. I love it. Take it to the farmer. Absolutely.
Yes, Norma Borlaug. That's right. It's a great expression, this one.
Yes. Sarah,
of course, he received a Nobel Prize for this. No?
Exactly. He won the Nobel Prize for a reason. Absolutely.
Yes.
Sarah, I'm going to ask a slightly more technical question. This came from an audience member, and it's specifically about soil erosion. You spoke a lot about soil in your presentation. So what should we do in order to eliminate soil erosion and soil degradation? And can you speak about what you do, but also what the Global Farmer Network does to get rid of soil erosion?
So if we want to stop soil erosion, we need to stop mechanical disturbance. because it's because of mechanical disturbance that we will destroy the glomaline, the famous biological glue, and then the soil goes away. So each time we don't touch the soil will stay and we will stop erosion. And then we also need to cover it because it will be less sensitive to erosion, to the wind, or to the water. And what we did with the GFN, the Global Farmer Network, was to do a regenerative declaration or declaration of regenerative agriculture. So we gather in the USA last spring. We were from all around the world, and our goal was to explain what is regenerative agriculture. And it was very important because this declaration comes from farmers, and it was done by farmers, for farmers, with farmers.
Wonderful plug, Sarah. Thank you. And for those of you who are able to stay through the whole webinar, we will be talking about that declaration at the end. So thank you. That's a wonderful segue. Antonio, here's a big question for you. What do you believe Brazil can teach the world about sustainable, regenerative, and innovative agricultural practices?
Wow, this is a very hard question because, of course, it's important to say it's something interesting. Brazil, I think, is the only country in the world that has the name of a tree. Brazil is the name of a very important tree here for us. Then it means it shows how important the agriculture, the nature is for us. In our flag, we have the green, which means the Amazon and something like this, the forest that we have here in Brazil. But of course, we have a lot of problems in Brazil, the north part of Brazil, and we have the Amazon. We have we are fighting against some illegal ways to have the agriculture. It's important to say this in the north part of Brazil. The most part of the lands, unfortunately, they don't have, how can I say, they don't have owners. It's public areas. In these areas, it's really difficult to have a control of there. In my opinion, we should have a very increasing the regularization of the documents of that area. When if we still keep that area as a public areas, it's still difficult to keep the environment. Then it's the first question that I would to say that we have a big challenge here in Brazil. But in the central part, in the south part, it's amazing how we are farming, how we are producing food. But just to say, we have a very important in a restricted environment law we call Código Florestal. It means forest code. We should have, for example, it doesn't matter the size of the river in your farm. You should have at least around that rivers 50 or 100 meters of native forest. It's important to say this. Every farmer here in Brazil, it doesn't matter where you are, you should have some kind of percentage in forest. If you are in the south part, you should have 20%. If you are in the central part, it's 35%. In the north part, you should have 80% as a native vegetation. Then we don't, for example, we don't have any farm here in Brazil that we can use 100% of the lands. We should have a percentage of the farmer as we call reserve, forest reserve. So this is really difficult. It was maybe 15 years ago. It was a fighting with the farmers, but now we understand. We understood how important that I don't recommend or I don't say, oh, everybody in the world should make this. It's really difficult. For example, you have 100 hectares of farmers say, no, I can use this 20 hectares or 35 hectares. I should planting trees over there. It's difficult to say this to a farmer. But in Brazil, we did this in the past, and now every farmer we have. And this is some kind of example that maybe some countries can look to Brazil and say how important it is to keep this native forests and something like this. This is one of the example. Another example that we have here in Brazil is really interesting. When you use some kind of products we are one of we have a very high reutilizer. How can I say? I forgot the word in English. When you use a product in your farm, you have a litter or you have a plastic from something like this. We are reutilizing around 97% of the products we send back to the industry to use again that plastic or that kind of product to having another product that I'm buying in the future. This is a small example that we are doing here in Brazil.
Amazing. Sarah, I gave Antonio a really hard, big question, and now I'm going to do the same to you. So our audience members are asking really hard questions, and I'm loving it. And so I'm going to read this question verbatim. So, Sarah, is the idea of regenerative agriculture limited to just protecting the soil and improved management in support of food production? What about climate change as a global goal? For example, some regions adopt land rotation, but urbanization and mining is limiting land use for agricultural purposes and forests. So what do you say to that? Yeah.
I think that agriculture and farming are part of the solution for mitigating the climate change. Just because if we don't have rain, it's because there is no evapotranspiration. So the more the farmer will cover the soil with living plants, the more evapotranspiration we will have, the more clouds will be formed, and the more rain will come back. By the past, we had 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And today we have the rainy season and the dry season. So we can change everything. But it's not just Antonio or me, it's everybody that has to do that. We have to cover the soil and to mimic nature. Nature shows us that the soil is always covered with living plants, with crops, with trees, and we must grow things just to switch from rainy season and dry season to, once again, spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And we can do that. I showed you some pictures from South Africa, from China, from Israel and Egypt. We can do it. It's not once again, the difference between a desert and a fertile valley. It's not the water, it's the man. So we have the solution and we can implement it all around the world.
Amazing. Thank you. So Antonio is in a similar vein, and I'm curious to hear on your farm, what is the mechanization method that you utilize to curb to curb soil erosion and to support sustainable and innovative agriculture? So what do you say to those who may be in regions where they feel that their access to technology is limited, or they're not practicing, good soil management practices? What do you say to someone who, I want to start? Where do I start practicing regenerative agriculture? And what would those first steps look like for you? And then Sarah, I'm going to ask the same to you, because I think this is a really important question. Whether you're in Uganda or Russia, it doesn't matter. Where do you start? So Antonio, you first.
Okay. Do you think it's a very important question? It's a part of our history. What I think is we should divide, this is really important, the world in 2 hemispheres, a temperate and a tropical. That I think it's important when we are talking about regenerative agriculture. I think when we are, for example, Brazil, we are near the Ecuador. We are a tropical country. We are a very well developing tropical agriculture. Then which means this: I am in a better condition to exchange knowledge and experience with someone who will be in the same area. I don't see how can I talk. Of course, I want to learn. I want to see new experience, but I don't have. How can I say? How can I teach someone in Canada or change experience? Because it's a complete different weather, different temperatures. But I think I have a very good conditions to talk with someone in Asia or in Africa. What I am telling this is important. For example, in Brazil, maybe 40 years or 50 years ago, Brazil, it was one of the biggest beef importer in the world. We are maybe the third or the fourth beef importer in the world. Then we import a lot of beef from that. Why we are doing this? Because at that time, the government, they obliged the farmers using animals from the temperate zones, from animals, for example, from Europe or from cold countries. That animals, they could survive here. It was, it's a joke now, but it was 40 years ago like this. Then the farmers, they changed this situation and they went to India, for example. They have the same, we are in the same geographical position. Then we import some animals for there. We call the zebu. I'm just give you one example. Then we make a revolution in our country from the third or fourth beef importer. Now Brazil is the biggest beef exporter. Why? Because we change, we know our conditions, we know our soil, we know our temperature, our rainy season, and we put the animal in the best condition. Then I think, for example, we don't use maybe 85, 90% of our farming system in Brazil is no-till farmer. Then it's important to say this, but I think I have very a better chance to have a good connection with someone in Uganda, because it's sometimes when I visit this country, I visit or I was on the road, I saw it's like my farmer, it's the same land, it's the same. Wow, I think sometimes I am in my farming there, but they are not using our system. That I think with this country, maybe Sarah can exchange more experience with the temperate countries like Canada or the north part of the United States. Maybe the Brazilian farmers will have better connections with the farmers in Uganda or in Kenya or some African countries. So it's important. This geographical position, in my opinion, would be really important for the global farmer networks in the future to have this kind of to change experience.
That's excellent. So Sarah, yeah, I'm going to post it to you. So someone in a more temperate area, such as France, what is your recommendation to someone who, as a first step?
The first step to me will be to cover the soil, whoever you are and whatever you grow, because covering the soil concerns everybody. Once again, you can have orchard, vineyards, arable farming, whatever you want, and you can be big, small, organic, non-organic. And by doing that, we're going to gather people instead of to divide them between you are organic, you're not, you are big, small. So cover the soil, and it's because you will cover the soil with living plants that progressively you will avoid to do mechanical disturbance. The roots will replace the iron in the soil.
Wonderful. Antonio, I'm going to come back to you. So a little less maybe hands-on, like kind of that first step. It's another big question higher up. How do we get governments to collaborate on this issue on a global scale?
Wow, this is a very important question. But I think one of we 15 years ago in Brazil, this is my opinion, okay, Ellie, maybe you should make consideration of the country. But as I told you, about regenerative agriculture, we should tell our history about the politics is the same. Maybe it was around 20 years ago. We are, how can I say, we are tired about the politics. They don't look for us as we're trying to. Many times we went to our capital, Brasilia, trying to explain what we are doing, but it was impossible. Then we took a decision as a farmers, as in our organizations, our cooperatives, our federations, something like this. Said, okay, we should have some kind of farmers as a politicians also. We should make a choice between us and someone we can send to our Congress. Then we did this maybe 15 or 20 years ago. Then in our Congress now, we have something like we call a rural party. They are in different kind of parties. It doesn't matter the ideology or the view of the world. they are in the left parties, in the central or right wings or something like this, but it doesn't matter. But they are farmers. Because the question is, how can I put the government with me? The best way is to have some farmers there, because it's really difficult to convince only politicians, because they have many kind of pressures from outside, from the health, of course, the health sectors and education sectors and industry sectors. They are really important. But for us, we need someone that understand what we are telling. Then these farmers there in the Congress they are helping us a lot. It's more easy trying to convince them to have some good politics about agriculture. Then my advice is, it doesn't matter where is your country, trying to find some good farmers. They can speak well and put this voice in the Congress. I think this is the best way, because just talking, just have meetings, it's more difficult. But if you have someone there, they will be how can I say, a really friend there. They can understand what we are doing, what we are telling, what we are wanting. I think this is one of the most safe system that you can work, to have the government with you, not against you.
Amazing. Sarah, so we've talked about the farming, as like on the soil, the farm. We've talked about the government and engaging with government. And now I'm going to ask this question that I really like. It's about markets and consumers. So, Sarah, how do we get consumers to pay for the extra costs of regenerative agriculture?
Actually, if we don't accept to pay now, we will have to pay more in the future because of the climate change. So today we have the solution, and either we accept to put $1, $2, $3 more in the food, or we say, no, I don't want, and maybe in 10 years time, it will cost $100 more, just because we will have to fight this climate change, because there is a big threat amongst all around the world just to produce food, because the yields will go down because of heat, because of floodings, because of dry season and so on. So either we change today and it costs not, it's not very expensive. Either we say, no, I want to wait, and in the future it will be very expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah, while I have you, so I know you've spoken a lot about, for you, it's soil is extremely important. What other principles of regenerative agriculture are non-negotiable for you?
To me, it's to do agronomy, and not to, and it's based on results, not on means, which means we're not going to divide each other once again. It's more, how do you produce food while you restore and you respect the environment, the water, the air, and you have happy people. So it's based on results. And I didn't remember, the question was.
Oh, what principles are non-negotiable for you?
Yes, and to do agronomy. So, do you need to lime? Do you need to sometimes to decompact the soil? What do you need to do in order to produce better food?
Antonio, same question to you. What principles of regenerative agriculture are non-negotiable?
Yes, the best cover crops, as I told you, but it's the most important to have as a most important principle, to have the best food with the best soil, or with the best farmer. There are some word that I think it's important for us as a farmer to put in this equation, the food. It's something ironic, but sometimes we have a very large discussions, very big forums, discussion about climate change. This is really important, but we don't have the discussion about the hungry, the food for the people. For example, I don't know if I'm telling in the right way in English, COP30, no, the meeting. Why don't you have a copy for food? Something like this. So it's important because sometimes this is not it's just a observation, okay? Sometimes the priority of some kind of rich countries, they are not the priority of the poor countries. Sometimes in the poor countries in Asia or in Africa, the most important thing that they need is food. Then it's important we put food in this equation. We should produce more food in the more best way when you talk about the environment, but it's important to put the food this. We are not talking about some dreams or something impossible to reach, but we are talking about food on the table for the people. It's important. Then I'm trying to say, because I think we should put in these discussions, sometimes they are worrying about the electric cars or the climate changes. Everything is important, but how we can produce more food to these people in the affordable way, in the good price for these people to have, no, because they told me the last dates, maybe almost 1 billion persons, they don't have enough food every day. And it's important in this equation, we have food. How we can produce more food with better prices, respecting the environment.
Wonderful. I think this is an excellent segue into the declaration itself, listening to both of you. And so if I could ask, yes, thank you. So Sarah and Antonio, you both participated in a Global Farmer Network event in which you both and 6 other farmers from around the world created this declaration on regenerative agriculture. And I would like to ask both of you, first of all, very briefly, why did you say yes? And why should someone sign their name to this declaration? Sarah, I'm going to begin with you.
I said yes because it's an evidence to look forward the future and to ask people to have regenerative agriculture all around the world, because once again we do it for us, but we also do it for the next generations and just to have peace in the world. And why you should sign and apply, it's because when you will read this declaration, you will feel that it's what we want for farming and what we want for agriculture all around the world.
Antonio, why did you say yes to this opportunity, and why should someone sign?
It was a great pleasure for me. There are some things that you made in your life. You are so happy to do this. And I was invited from the Global Farm Networks to visit with these friends from around the world to have this regenerative agriculture declaration. I was so happy to do this because I thinking, why? Because we as a farmer, we are the real guardian of the nature, of the environment. And it's really important. We as a farmer, we have this declaration. Then for me, it was a great pleasure to be part of this group with Sarah and some other friends around the world. And I'm asking you to sign this declaration because it's a real declaration from the farmers to the society and to the world. What is regenerative agriculture? It's a wonderful work, and I am so happy to be part of this.
Thank you, both of you, so much. As you've heard today, I mean, both Antonio and Sarah bring very diverse, but very, very impactful experiences to the table. And so we are so fortunate to have them both with us today to help us learn about regenerative agriculture and their own practices. But I think you're both a gift to the world of agriculture in general because of that wealth of knowledge that you bring. So thank you so much for saying yes to not only this webinar, but to creating the declaration. And for those of you who are inspired by what Antonio and Sarah have to say and who agree with what we have pulled together as the Global Farmer Network and are putting forth out into the world, a Farmer Declaration for Regenerative Agriculture, we ask you to please sign the declaration. Also, for those who want to continue to know more about the declaration, but also about regenerative agriculture, it doesn't just stop with Antonio and Sarah. We have 3 more webinars that are to talk about regenerative agriculture. We talked about the why today. We're going to talk about farmer dignity and communities and how that ties into regenerative agriculture. We're going to talk more about row crops and then livestock and aquaculture. This is all part of regenerative agriculture, and we'll be continuing to hear from farmers who participated in the creation of the declaration. So with that, thank you, Antonio. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you to our wonderful audience for joining us today. And we hope you have a wonderful day. Please sign, and thank you for joining the Global Farmer Network. Take care.